introduction to mechanical vibrations, types of vibrations, damping, free forced vibration, forced damped vibrations. Okay, now coming to introduction to mechanical vibrations. Now, what is the vibrations? Now, a body is said to vibrate if it has a to and fro motion. Now, if you see here on the screen, this is the mean position of the object of having a mass m, and it is moving to and fro, up and down from its mean position. So, we can call it as to be in a vibratory motion. In a vibratory motion. Similarly, a pendulum will be also moving to and fro from its mean position to extreme positions, and there we call it as a simple harmonic or harmonic motion. Here also in the spring, here the mass is oscillating to and fro. Any object which is being disturbed by an external force or due to the self mass, like here m, no external force is being acted upon it, only the self force m is being making the spring to move to and fro. Okay, any motion that exactly repeats itself after an interval of time is called a vibration here. Therefore, a vibration is a periodic motion. Underline this is the periodic motion. Any system possessing mass and elasticity is capable of undergoing a vibration. Now coming to some basic types of vibrations. We have longitudinal vibrations, transverse vibrations, torsional vibrations. Okay, what is a longitudinal vibration? See here, the types of vibration you can see of the here it is a longitudinal vibration where the mass or here disc is moving along the axis of the shaft up and down. When the object is moving along the axis of the shaft from mean position to extreme positions, then it is said to be longitudinal vibration. And here when the mass is moving transfers to the, you observe here, transfers to the axis of the shaft, then it is said to be transverse vibrations. And here torsional vibration, when the disc or mass is made to rotate along the axis of the shaft, then it is said to be torsional vibrations. Now let us see some basic terms. These are the different types of vibrations, that is longitudinal vibrations, transverse vibrations, and also torsional vibrations. Now types of vibratory motions. Free vibrations and forced vibrations. Coming to free vibrations, free undamped vibrations, or some books it will be calling it as free vibrations, and other free damped vibrations. Next, forced damped vibration, in which again force undamped vibrations and forced damped vibrations. Okay. In vibratory motion, there are basically two types, free vibration and forced vibrations. Coming to free vibration, free undamped vibration, free damped vibrations. Coming to forced vibrations, force undamped vibrations and force damped vibrations. Now let us see some definitions. Now let us see what is this free vibrations. Here, when a body is allowed to vibrate on its own after giving it an initial displacement, then the ensuing vibration is known as a free or natural vibrations. Initially, if you displace the object from its mean position and release it, then the body tends to vibrate along that mean position towards its extreme positions. Then it is said to be a free vibration or natural vibrations. Now coming to forced or harmonical excited vibrations. Whereas in the free vibrations, we have initially displaced or applied the force on the mass or an object. Then it is vibrating. Then it is said to be a natural vibration. But in forced vibration, we will be applying the force periodically on the object. Okay, then it is said to be a forced vibration. Here, if you see here, the definition of the forced vibration. When a body vibrates under the influence of an external forces, then the ensuing vibration is known as a forced vibration. When an external force is applied, the body does not vibrate with its own natural frequency, but vibrates with the same frequency of the applied external force. For example, we can see the vehicles or IC engines, where a force is applied periodically, that is a power stroke is being given. There are three types of strokes, power stroke. Power stroke is being given periodically, okay, na? By which there will be the vibrations in the vehicle. That vibrations where the force is given periodically onto the object, then it is known as a forced or harmonically excited vibrations. Okay. Now let us check, see some definitions, important terms in the vibratory motion. Now time period. It is the time taken by a vibrating body to repeat the motion itself. Time period is usually expressed in seconds. Now cycle. It is a motion completed in one time period. Okay. Now cycle, it is a motion completed during one time period. Frequency. Frequency is the number of cycles of motion. Frequency is the number of cycles of motion or number of cycles completed in 1 second is called the frequency. It is generally called as frequency is expressed in hertz. Okay. Now, what is this amplitude? The maximum displacement of vibrating body. The maximum displacement of a vibrating body from the mean position. It is usually expressed in millimeters. Okay. Next, damping. Any resistance to the motion of the vibrating body is called a damping. We will be seeing this damping in all the objects. In vehicles also we will be seeing these dampers where we will be, these objects will be coming to its rest position due to some frictions or some viscous dampers induced in them. So here damping, any resistance to the motion of the vibrating body is called damping. If it is no damper is there, then it is known as a free vibration. Okay, types of vibration. If damper is not there, then it is known as free undamped vibration. If damper is there, free damped vibration. And again, if damper is there in during the force vibration, then it is force damped vibration. And damper is unavailable, force undamped vibrations. Clearly, we can say that there will be some damping in any object. It is practically impossible to see forced undamped vibration or free undamped vibration. There will be certainly some dampings due to friction or due to any air. If a pendulum is moving, then there will be air forces surrounded which will make the object to come to its rest. Here the air is acting as a damper or sometimes friction. Now types of vibrations: longitudinal, transverse and torsional vibrations. Degrees of freedom. What is this degrees of freedom? The number of independent coordinates required to specify the configuration of a system completely at any instant is called degrees of freedom. Okay. The independent coordinates. What are the number of independent coordinates required to define the motion of an object or the position of an object, or here specify the configuration of a system? Then it is, those number is called as degrees of freedom. Here in this spring system attached with a mass m, okay, this is a 1 degree of freedom system or a single degree of freedom system, okay, where here I can define this position or configuration of this system with one known value, that is spring index K, where K spring stiffness K. Okay. Similarly, here I can give the position of this pendulum. If I know the value of theta, I can know the position of this pendulum ball. But coming to here, if you observe this, it is a 2 degrees of freedom system. It is a 2 degrees of freedom system where the position or configuration of the system will be given if I know the values of K1 and K2. I have to define the position of this object with two values K1 and K2. So here if I know these two values only, I can give the configuration of this system or the position of this system. Okay. So here it is a 2 degrees of freedom system. Now cantilever, it is an infinite degree of freedom system where this beam, when divided into number of parts, infinite number of parts, then I have to define the position of this cantilever beam with respect to n number of parts. Okay, so it is called as a infinite degrees of freedom. Now coming to, basically we will be seeing free undamped vibrations, free damped vibrations, forced undamped vibrations, force damped vibrations. Okay, let us get into free undamped vibrations. Let us check here by different methods: equilibrium method or Newton's method, energy method, Raleigh's method. We can get the natural frequency of a free undamped vibration system. Here a longitudinal vibration system we are taking. Now let us see by equilibrium method what will be the governing equation for this system. and by which I can get the natural frequency of this system. See here, a spring mass system, a spring system is here attached having a spring stiffness K. Spring stiffness K, where K is given by what? K is denoted by force per deflection. Now, K is the stiffness of the spring. It is defined as the force required to produce unit deflection in the direction of the vibration, and it is given by Newton per meter. K, stiffness of the spring. It is defined as the force required to produce unit deflection in the direction of the vibration. And small m is the mass of the body suspended, and W is the weight of the body, that is small m into G gravitational force. Delta is the static deflection of the spring. Okay, now that is nothing but due to its own weight, it is being displaced. That is known as the static deflection. And X is the displacement given to the body by an initial force. Okay, na? Now, delta is the static deflection, X is the displacement given to the body by an initial force. Initially only we will be giving the force to it. If we give periodically, then it comes under the forced vibration. But initially, if you are giving force, then it is known as a free vibration and a free undamped vibration. Here I am not using any damper. Now, this is a spring. Now, to this spring, it is under unstrained position. When I attach a mass of M, okay, now this mass, due to this mass, the spring will be expanded by a length, say delta. Okay, now what will be the force, downward force? It will be mg. Because of this mass m, the downward force will be mg, and there will be a reaction force upwards. That reaction force is given by K delta. Please note here mg is equal to K delta, where mg is the downward force and K delta is the reaction force acting upwards. Here now it is being balanced. Here now it is being balanced. So now if I disturb now from this position, after balancing with the mass mg and K delta, if I disturb from this position by longitudinal distance x, or if I pull the mass m by distance x, now what are the forces acting on it? By default, the spring will be acting upwards, will be trying to pull the mass m upwards, and the spring force will be K into delta plus x, and the weight will be acting downwards. Okay, weight will be acting downwards, and as I have pulled it down and released, there will be some acceleration. Okay, that is given by m into d square x by dt square. I have pulled it down. Okay, and this is the spring force acting upwards. Okay, now writing free body diagram for this. Writing free body diagram. Check for the free body diagram for this. Here you can find the free body diagram. Here I am not finding the W, where W is nothing but what? mg. Already this mg is being balanced by K delta. So here I won't see that force W. Now this m d square x by dt square is the downward force which is being applied. So inertia force will be acting upwards. That is again same as m d square x by dt square. So Kx is acting upwards, inertia force is also acting upwards. Okay. Now writing the equation. So restoring force is again given by here Kx. Okay. See here the display actual force is K into delta plus X. But here I am showing it as Kx because I have removed W here. W and K delta gets cancelled. So Kx only I will be taking. So restoring force is Kx which will be acting upwards. And inertia force is m into d square x by dt square minus of m into d square x by dt square. That will be acting also minus indicates upwards. So or d square x by dt square can be written as x double dot mx double dot and upwards, because if you see a pendulum, if the distance is being reduced, if I displace a pendulum to its extreme position, what happens? Initially there will be, suppose, zero displacement at the extreme position. If I release, what is happening? It is coming to its mean position, that is x is reduced. But what happened to the acceleration? Acceleration will be increased. So the acceleration is increasing, but the displacement is coming to the zero, that is to its mean position. So the displacement and accelerations are in opposite direction, for which reason I am giving the inertia force as minus m into d square x by dt square. Now writing here restoring force is equal to inertia force, writing the equation, restoring force is equal to inertia force, what I get, mx double dot is equal to minus m into d square x by dt square. When it comes to the right side, mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0, or according to D'Alembert's principle, sum of the force applied and inertia force should be equal to 0. Now the force applied is kx and inertia force will be mx double dot, which is also acting upwards. So here I can write kx plus mx double dot is equal to 0. The same equation with if I am using the D'Alembert's principle, where it states the sum of the forces and the inertia forces will be equal to the 0. So final equation will be mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. This is the governing equation of free undamped longitudinal vibration, which is, if I am taking k, dividing this equation by m, then I get x double dot plus k by m, x is equal to 0. Where k by m is nothing but square of the natural frequency. Okay, x double dot plus omega n square x is equal to 0, where omega n is equal to under root k by m. Omega n, be particular, we will be coming across this omega as omega n, omega d damping, and a simple omega. Due to the applied force F, there comes the long omega, that is simply we will be writing omega, and due to the damping there comes the omega d, and due to natural frequency omega n. Omega n is given by under root k by m, and time period is, now time period is 2 pi for one revolution or one cycle, 2 pi by, so 2 pi is the distance, by velocity, angular velocity omega n. So this is the time period. So 2 pi under root m by k. Our natural frequency is given by 1 by t, that is 1 by 2 pi under root k by m. These are to be noted. That is, governing equation is mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0 or x double dot plus k by m of x is equal to 0, where k by m is equal to square of natural frequency, where omega n is equal to under root k by m. Natural frequency is given by under root k by m, and time period is given by 2 pi by omega n, 2 pi under root m by k, and natural frequency 1 by capital T, that is inverse of time period. I get 1 by 2 pi under root k by m, or I can say initially we have seen mg is equal to k delta. In the above we have seen here mg is equal to k delta. So in the place of under root k by m, in the place of under root k by m, I can write 1 by 2 pi under root g by delta, where delta is the static displacement. Okay. Now substituting that g value as 9.81, what I get is 0.4985 by under root g hertz. Natural frequency will be 0.4985 by under root delta hertz. This is to be noted down. That is, natural frequency is given by 1 by 2 pi under root g by delta, and time period 2 pi under root m by k, and natural frequency is given by under root k by m. Omega n, we will be coming across omega d and omega also. Okay, and here mg is equal to k delta. Mg is equal to k delta. So I can write 1 by 2 pi under root k by m as 1 by 2 pi under root g by delta also. This is one method. That is, we have followed equilibrium method. Energy method also, by energy method or Rayleigh method also, we can get this governing equation and also natural frequency of undamped free vibrations of. By energy method also you can get the equation. That is, here you can see mx x double dot plus k by m, x is equal to 0, where x is the displacement, where k, okay, and by Rayleigh's method also we can get the same equation. Okay, here you can see this equation. After solving it, you will be getting the natural frequency omega n is equal to under root k by m. Go through this simple problem. A mass of 10 kg is connected to a free end of the spring of stiffness 6 Newton per mm. The another end of the spring is fixed. Calculate the natural frequency of vibration of the system. Okay, the given m value, k value is also given. You convert into Newton per meter. Always stiffness k should be in Newton meter. So natural frequency 1 by 2 pi under root k by m. Okay. Now static deflection due to the mass, you know PL by AE or WL by AE. Here you get the delta value and substitute those delta value and you can get the natural frequency. You go through this problem, it will be easy one. So this is how we get natural frequency of some of the systems, where natural frequency is given by 1 by 2 pi under root k by m. Now coming to another, damping. Now, what is damping? Any resistance to vibration motion is called damping. Okay. Now, any body which is vibrating will come to its stationary position, or will not be vibrating after some time with that same amplitude. The amplitude will be reduced. It is due to the frictional forces or some uh, damping forces, or the damping, different types of dampings are there. We will see those. So damping is any resistance to the vibration motion is called a damping. What does it do? In damped vibrations, what happens? The amplitude of damping decreases over every cycle with respect to amount of damping. Okay, na? This damping is generally used in the vehicles or any vibrating uh, body, such that it will be coming to uh, rest position where the amplitude will be reduced by this damping. We can see different types of dampers. Those are viscous damping. Viscous damping, where we'll be seeing fluid dashpot and eddy current damping. Okay. Now dry friction or Coulomb damping. This is due to the friction. Okay. And solid damping or structural damping or hysteresis damping. These are the three major. And next, final, slip or non-linear or interfacial damping. Okay. Now let us see. As previously we have seen, mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. Mx double dot plus kx, where m is the mass and k is the stiffness. And here we will be seeing damping coefficient C. Okay, these three defines a vibrating body. Okay, we will be getting to the equation, governing equation, where we will be seeing this mass, stiffness K and damping coefficient C. Now, what is this damping coefficient? The damping force required for unit velocity is known as damping coefficient. It is given by C is equal to damping force by velocity. So it is given by Ft by x dot, where x dot is nothing but dx by dt, where x is the displacement. Differentiating, we will be getting the velocity. Damping force by x dot, it is given by Newton second per meter or Newton per meter second. Okay, Newton second per meter, or force is given by Newton by x dot, velocity meter per second. Second will be coming up Newton second per meter. Okay. Now damping coefficient C is given by damping force by velocity, that is Ft by x dot, where x dot is the velocity. Now M is, we'll be seeing the what are the forces acting on the body. The forces are due to mass. So due to the mass, it is mass into acceleration is a force. That is m into d square x by dt square. Next, force is due to the stiffness of the object or stiffness of the spring. So it is given by k into x, displacement, where stiffness is defined as a force per unit deflection. We have seen earlier. So force per unit deflection, when multiplied with x, I will get again force. So kx is another force. Next, other force is the force due to the damper. That is damping force is given by C into x dot. C into x dot is the damping force. So these are the three forces, that is mx double dot, other force is kx, Other force is Cx dot. These are the three forces acting on a vibrating object. Now, when the dampers are connected in series, the resultant damping of these three dampers C1, C2, C3 is given by 1 by CEQ. Equivalent damper is given by, or effective damping is given by 1 by CEQ is equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3. If they are connected in series, and parallel if they are connected, equivalent damping of those due to these three dampers is given by C1 plus C2 plus C3. If it is in series, it is given by 1 by CEQ is equal to, or equivalent 1 by equivalent damping is given by 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3. Using those three, you can get do these some problems. Now we will see free damped vibrations. Previously we have seen free vibrations or free longitudinal vibration where I have got mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. Now here what will be the equation when damper is being attached? See, where k is the stiffness of the spring, m is the mass, x is the displacement of mass from mean position, and delta is the static deflection, and C is the damping coefficient, where damping coefficient we have seen force due to damping by velocity. Okay. So damping coefficient will be less when the velocity is more. Ft by velocity. When velocity is more, what happens? Damping coefficient will be less. That is to be observed. Now, similarly here, as previously, this is the spring initially where the no mass is being attached, having a dash part also, or a damper having damping coefficient as C. And when mass m is attached to it, mass m is attached to it, here you can see, then it is being displaced by delta. Now from here, it will be the mean position of this total system, where I can see the three, that is mass, stiffness, and also the damping coefficient. And this is the mean position. And when it is being displaced by a distance x, what are the forces acting on it? Okay, now those are the when it is being displaced by x distance, then spring will try to pull it back. Similarly, this damper also resists to its motion, so it will, the force will be also moving up, and mx double dot is moving down. Okay, na? Acceleration force, but as we have seen, this acceleration will be in the opposite direction or negative direction, so it can be written as mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx is equal to 0. You can't find, you are not finding any forces down here. Or we can also write according to the D'Alembert's principle. Sum of forces plus inertia forces is equal to 0. What are the sum of forces? The forces are due to the stiffness of the spring and also due to the damping coefficient of the dash part. These are the forces acting. Now what is the inertia forces? This is given by mx double dot, inertia forces. This can be also written. Sum of these forces equal to 0, or simple equilibrium if you are writing. So kx plus cx dot is equal to minus of mx double dot, because here acceleration, we are terming it as acceleration, but it is decelerating. Okay, na? So x dot will be x double dot will be minus. So here I am saying it as accelerating forces. But what is happening as the displacement is increasing, the acceleration will be decreasing. That is, it is decelerating. Okay. So it will be decelerated. X double dot will be in minus position. So equilibrium equation, if I am writing now, kx plus cx dot equal to minus mx double dot. Okay, na? Or if I am writing according to D'Alembert's principle, it can be written as kx plus cx dot plus these are the forces plus inertia forces equal to 0. That inertia forces will be acting always opposite to the applied force, that is mx double dot. So my final equation will be like this: mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx is equal to 0. This is the governing equation for the object having a stiffness k and a damping coefficient C and mass M. Okay. Now this is the governing equation mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx. Or now I am dividing all this total equation by m. Then what I get, x double dot plus c by m x dot plus k by m x is equal to 0. Acceleration plus c by m into velocity plus k by m into displacement equal to 0. Now writing it as a secondary equation, that is d square x by dx square dt square plus c by m into dx by dt plus k by m into x is equal to 0. That as secondary equation, d square x by dx as x square, dx by dt as s. If I am writing and x as 1, if I am writing what I get, s square plus c by m s plus k by m is equal to 0. Now this is secondary equation, so I get two values further. That is, we know ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. For that, two values I will be getting, which is given by minus b plus or minus under root b square minus 4ac by 2a minus b. What is the b value? C by m here. If you are taking it as ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, what I get is minus b is c by m, c is k by m, and a is 1 here. Okay, a I can't. So two values I get, that is given by minus c by m plus or minus under root b square minus 4ac by 2a, and that is given as like this. Now just observe for these two terms inside, c by 2m square minus k by m, which are under inside this under root c by 2m square minus k by m. Now the ratio of these two terms gives me degree of dampness. Okay, this is important for you. Degree of dampness is given by c by 2m divided by k by m. C by 2m square, sorry, c by 2m square by k by m is given by degree of dampness, or it can be seen as c by 2m omega n. Okay, omega n, we can write shortly omega n, c by 2m omega n whole square, where omega n is nothing but what? Under root k by m. So k by m can be written as omega n square. So I am getting c by 2m omega n whole square. Don't get confused with this. C by 2m omega n whole square is your degree of dampness. Now damping factor given by psi. Okay, damping factor. What is this damping factor? The square root of degree of dampness. Square root of degree of dampness. Degree of dampness DOD is C by 2m omega n whole square. Is called damping factor, damping ratio. That is nothing but simply damping factor psi is equal to under root C by 2m omega n square whole square, that is C by 2m omega n. C by 2m omega n. Now, you can see critical damping coefficient, that is given by when it is possible to critical damping coefficient when zeta psi is equal to 1. That is when it is possible when these two ratios, that is C by 2m by whole square by k by m, C by 2m whole square by k by m is equal to 1. So 1 square becomes what? 1 square under root becomes again 1 only. So when C by 2m when C by 2m whole square by k by m is equal to 1, then psi becomes 1. Okay, now when psi is equal to 1, then critical damping occurs, or critical damping coefficient is given by psi is equal to occurs when critical damping occurs when psi is equal to 1. That is possible. When it is possible psi is equal to 1, when it is, when here these two terms, so here degree of dampness is given by the ratio of C by 2m square minus k by m. So the ratio of these two values which are inside this under root gives me the degree of dampness, that is C by 2m square whole square by k by m. Now degree damping factor psi is given by square root of degree of dampness, that is nothing but square root of C by 2m omega n whole square. Whole square square root gets cancelled. What I get is C by 2m omega n. Okay. What is here omega n? Under root k by m. Now critical damping occurs when psi is equal to 1. When it is possible psi is equal to 1, here psi is equal to 1. Here you can see psi equal to 1. This value. When it is possible, when it is this C by 2, the two terms are, which are inside this under root are equal. C by 2m whole square is equal to k by m. Then psi becomes 1. That is nothing but, here you can see zeta is equal to c by 2m omega n, and I will get a critical damping coefficient when this zeta is equal to 1. So this critical damping Cc is given by 2m omega n. Okay, now damping factor, what I get? What is the damping factor given by C by 2m omega n? Now what is this 2 by 2m omega n? That is nothing but here Cc. That is nothing but Cc. So substituting 2m omega n as Cc in this damping factor, epsilon zeta is equal to C by 2m omega n, where 2m omega n I got it as a damping factor Cc when zeta is equal to 1. I got this as a damping factor. Now let us see what is this critical damping coefficient. What happens here during the critical damping? This critical damping we will be seeing in mostly in guns, where it should come to its mean position after being displaced. While triggering, the position of the object will be moving forward and it comes backward to the mean position, and it won't cross that mean position and go further to the opposite extreme end. So when it goes to opposite extreme end, what happens? It will be showing some impact on the person who is holding that gun. So this critical damping is important, where we can see this critical damping in guns. Okay. So we will be seeing this critical damping, under damping, and over damping also in further studies. Now damping factor is nothing but, damping factor is given by damping coefficient by critical damping. Now damping factor can also be defined as ratio of natural damping coefficient to critical damping coefficient. So zeta is given by actual damping coefficient by critical damping coefficient. So here damping coefficient is given by 2m zeta omega n. You have to remember this value. Damping coefficient is given by 2m into zeta into omega n. It can be also written like this. Substituting the same C value in a governing equation, what we get in the term of C, we have a square plus cs plus omega n is equal to 0. Substituting that, what we get? Two values, S12 same, omega n. Substituting these same equations during the critical damping conditions. What I get? Equation omega n minus zeta plus or minus under root zeta square minus 1. Okay. If in this equation, if zeta is equal to 1, what happens? See, when zeta is equal to 1, 1 minus 1, 0. Okay. So omega n minus zeta I will be getting. Now this is a critical damping. Now over damped system. Over damped system, when zeta is greater than 1, that is possible when C is greater than critical damping. Now over damped system, we can see an example of a door which is being connected by a piston rod. While we open it, it will be coming to its mean position very slowly. Of course, in critical damping also, the object will be coming to its mean position, but it will be coming very quickly. But in over damped system, what happens? For example, a door which is connected with a piston rod to be closed. Then when I open the door, what happens? It will be coming to its mean position, but very slowly. You can see it practically also some doors. So there it is a over damped system. Now coming to a piston. Now it is a critically damped. Now it will be also coming to its mean position, but it won't cross that mean position and goes to other extreme position, other side of the other side. For example, the piston from maximum amplitude to mean position, it will be coming very quickly, but it won't cross that mean position. That is critical damping. But if it comes very slowly from the maximum amplitude to the mean position, then it is said to be over damped. If it comes quickly, then it is a critically damped. And when zeta is less than 1, the system is said to be under damped system. This practically we will be seeing in some mechanical systems. Okay, now this will be our most concentrated part, because I don't expect the over damped system or critical damped system in any most of the mechanical parts. I won't expect to come to its mean position very slowly, or I won't expect the system to come to its mean position very fastly. Okay, rather I will be expecting to come to the mean position by with taking some oscillations, that is from one extreme end to mean position to other extreme end it will be moving when the damping coefficient is less than critical damping. When C is less than critical damping, what happens? We can see in the on the bikes also. When any bumper comes, we will be moving up and down. We won't go up and come to the mean position. We will be moving down also. Okay, we will move up when speed breaker comes. We move up and come to mean position and go down. So here we will be relaxed. If it moves up and come to the mean position and stops, then the person will be injured. Or either if it moves up and comes down slowly, that is also not preferred. Okay. For that reason, we will be our concentration will be checking for whether the zeta is less than 1 or not. Okay, na? So when you can observe here, over damped system when zeta is greater than 1, see it is coming to displacement 0 on mean position by taking some time. Now critically damped when zeta is greater than, sorry, see here, when zeta is greater than 1, so it is coming to this position. When zeta is equal to 1, it is coming to, it is critical damping. Here these two graphs you can observe for when zeta is less than 1, when zeta is less than 1, when zeta is less than 1, check, our concentration is, as said, when zeta is less than 1, because zeta is less than 1, this is our concentration, because most of the systems we will be check that it won't come to its mean position very fastly and stay in that same mean position, or we won't expect to come to mean position very slowly as that done. See here, theta is greater than 1. It is coming to its mean position very slowly. This, if suppose this is the mean position, it is coming very slowly. But whereas here, it is a critical damping, it has come to this mean position. Huh? This is the critical damping. This is over damped. But here under damped, it will be coming to its mean position and crossing that mean position goes to the other end of the vibration. Okay, na? From one extreme end to other extreme end, it will be going. So here the two values of S, that is S1 and S2, omega n minus zeta plus I under root 1 minus zeta square, where zeta is less than 1. Okay, na? Real part is minus zeta omega n, imaginary part omega n. This will be your real parts, two parts. Real part, that is omega n minus zeta, that is minus zeta omega n real part, and imaginary part omega n under root 1 minus zeta square. Okay, now